Suzuki has an established reputation for creating compact form factor cars that also embody innovation. The original SX4 was a good case in point, a car that looked like a normal hatchback but had a raised ride height and a 4x4 system, which meant that while it felt like a hatchback, it actually could go off-road as well. Now there's a brand new SX4, and this time the focus is very much on the SUV side of the equation. Or perhaps I should call it a crossover, because the SX4's attributes combine the space and versatility of a sleek wagon with the option of a clever all-wheel drive system. The newcomer is also substantially bigger than the stocky little hatchback it replaces, and its proportions are certainly more conventional in a crossover context. Admittedly, it's still compact by SUV standards, but the shape is more wagon than hatch. The streamlined profile promises slippery aerodynamics and more interior space, the former important from an efficiency perspective, the latter vital in delivering the roomy, flexible interior that the crossover description implies. There's no mistaking the crossover intentions of the new Suzuki SX4. It has a wagon-style silhouette with a bold front end and a tapering roofline, while the sill protectors and the scuff plates suggest a measure of all-terrain talent. On the other hand, these alloy wheels and the scalloped flanks add a touch of sporty flair. The new SX4 range comprises a family of 5, of which only the 2 top-spec models feature all-wheel drive. The other 3 make do with normal front-wheel drive and rely on their elevated ride height to cope with the rough stuff, although rough probably extends to nothing more challenging than game reserve gravel or the average suburb's potholed routes. Frankly, it's unlikely that SX4 owners will want to subject their steeds to anything more than that, and those that have a more committed urge to head off the beaten track should cast their eye over the all-wheel drive SX4 models. The top-end SX4 models are equipped with a system Suzuki calls AllGrip, which, as you'd expect, is an intelligent all-wheel drive system which can move the power from the front to the rear wheels when required. But AllGrip offers quite a bit more because it optimizes things like the torque distribution, the throttle response and other elements for particular conditions which you can select with a round dial in the center console. So you have settings called normal, auto, snow and sport. There's also a lock setting that splits the power 50-50 between the front and rear axles. Without low range and a diff lock, even all-grip equipped SX4s offer 4x4 light at best, but the system does allow less than ideal terrain to be tackled with greater confidence. All 5 models in the SX4 range use the same engine. It's this 1.6 litre 4-cylinder unit credited with 86 kilowatts of maximum power and 156 newton-meters of torque. Because our test car is the top-spec GLX manual, it delivers its urge to the front wheels via a 5-speed manual gearbox, but can move that power to the rear wheels when required. There's also a constantly variable transmission, or CVT option. On paper, the engine's output stats look promising, but max power is only attained at 6,000 RPM, while the torque peak occurs at 4,400 RPM, resulting in a peaky delivery that requires full use of the 4-cylinder engine's rev range. Let's get the bad news out of the way first. The SX4 is no rocket ship, and you really have to rev it to get the most out of it. That's mainly because the 1600 engine is quite peaky, and of course things do get worse if you load this vehicle to capacity. On the other hand, because the engine is lively and because it revs quite freely, it's actually quite fun to drive once you get used to the fact that you have to use the entire rev range. 0 to 100 time of this car, 12.5 seconds, as I said, really not the quickest. Top speed, 175 kilometers an hour. For once, the electrically assisted steering doesn't end up feeling too blunt or lifeless, and there's enough heft and feedback to allow for keen cornering. A 10.4-meter turning circle adds to the crossover's agility and maneuverability around town. Suzuki has a reputation for creating cars that offer tactile quality, and that's certainly the case here. The interior is spacious and smart, and the ergonomics intuitive, but the one thing I do miss here, despite all the extras, is the lack of a touchscreen display, something that has become the norm with top-end compact cars. The GLX spec is comprehensive and everything looks and feels reassuringly solid. You get niceties such as Bluetooth telephony and audio streaming, climate control, a multifunction steering wheel, keyless entry and starting, electrically operated windows and mirrors, and a full house of safety kit that includes 7 airbags. With a length of 4.3 meters and a wheelbase of 2.6 meters, the new SX4 is significantly larger than its predecessor, and it has the space and the utility to show. The luggage compartment, 440 liters, which is very useful indeed, but if you need to load something really big, you can fold the rear seat back flat, which creates a cargo area of 1,269 liters. There's even a concealed compartment under the cargo floor. However, the space-saver spare wheel is a disappointment, especially given the SX4's crossover status. The new SX4 is a big step up from the previous model. Highlights include the practical and spacious interior, the solid build quality, and the innovative AllGrip system. It also is a fun vehicle to drive. But at 319,900 Rand, this GLX manual is a very expensive car, and from that perspective, perhaps the entry-level GL version will be the top seller. One thing's for certain though, the SX4 now plays in a far more senior league than ever before. A willing engine, a nicely balanced chassis and a fresh appealing shape are only some of the all-new SX4's drawcards. It's also comfortable, versatile and safe, but you need to give it stick to optimize performance, and top models are expensive.